What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and we got a rock and roll feud going on between Ted Nugent and Joan Jett right now regarding some comments by Ted Nugent about Rolling Stone magazine's one of their recent, or actually it's a relatively old, back from 2010, but it's one of their common articles they put out, the top 100 blah blah blah, top 50 whatever, top 100 guitar players of all time. In this case, Joan Jett made the list, Ted Nugent did not. And he had something to say, calling her out by name, and the fact that she was on that list. Obviously, she had something to say in return. And the whole thing is really interesting. And I'll let you know my thoughts on these lists that Rolling Stones will put out, how much stock you should put into them, and you know who I agree with here, whether Ted Nugent was in the right by what he had to say. Obviously, he has the right to his opinion. And it's not like a lot of people aren't going to share that opinion. I'm sure that most people would even agree that Joan Jett's probably not one of the top 100 guitar players from a technical standpoint in the world as far as just playing. But did he have to come out and say that? I mean, I guess that's the question. But let's see what he had to say here. Ted Nugent's old school, though. He does not hold back. And even when pressed, he continued to talk like Ted Nugent talks. So, he's definitely not with the times, that's for sure. But Ted Nugent blasts stupid, quote-unquote stupid Joan Jett. Maybe the plastic has gone to her brain. Very interesting. Ted Nugent has blasted Joan Jett after her pointed retort in an interview in which she asked to respond to the outspoken conservative rocker's assessment of her musical skills, which he claimed she didn't belong on a list of the best rock guitarists. So in this video that was posted last December, Nugent brought up a list originally published back in 2010. Jett came in at 87, Ted not at all, and he said you have to have shit for brains, and you have to be soulless prick to include Joan Jett. How do you list the top 100 guitar players and not list Derek St. Holmes? How do you do that? You do that by lying. The same way you get Grandmaster Flash in a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you do that by lying. You have to be a liar. And these lists are pretty much all liars, or they're just opinion pieces, and they just put the most popular is a better word to put it, the most popular guitar players of all time, or you can consider the best and most influential, whatever. But obviously these lists are not the top 100 technical guitar players as far from a playing standpoint. Maybe you can find something like that in like Guitar World and maybe be a little better, a little more accurate. But in lists like Rolling Stone magazine, they're going to put Joan Jett in there. They're going to put in, we'll take a look at the lists. But a lot of these lists are crap. Rolling Stone magazine put out their top 100 songs of all time. I believe Missy Elliott, Get Your Freak On, was number 8. The 8th greatest song of all time was Get Your Freak On. So I don't think these lists should be taken too seriously. And I think he could have made that point without calling her out by name. I mean, he has a right to do that, but I just don't think it's very classy to call her out by name when there's probably many names on that list that don't really belong on that list as far as the top 100 greatest guitar players of all time. But it's an opinion piece. Let them have their list. Let them sell their magazines and get their clicks and just move on. Say that those lists are a bunch of crap and everyone would agree. If that's all he said, I think everyone would agree. And actually, everyone might even agree with what he did say, but it's still not polite at a minimum, and it's actually pretty rude to come out and call her out by name unless you have some kind of personal vendetta against her. I don't know. But when asked in a recent interview to comment on Nugent's claim that she shouldn't be on the list, she said neither should he, and he wasn't. Is that his implication, she asked? That he should be on the list instead of me? Well, that's just typical, is what I've dealt with my whole life, being written off. Ted Nugent has to live with being Ted Nugent. He has to be that in that body, so that's punishment enough. And I really like that comeback. And I like both of these people as musicians. I like Joan Jett. I'm a Joan Jett fan. Obviously a lot of great songs in her catalog, but I like Ted Nugent too. Always liked Ted Nugent. But after a brief pause, she added, he's not a tough guy. He plays tough guy. This is a guy who shit his pants literally so he didn't have to go into the army, she said. Don't know if there's any truth to that, but she then summoned her longtime manager, Kenny Laguna, to quote-unquote help, imploring Laguna to relay the full tale of Nugent's supposed Vietnam War draft-dodging tactic, which the alleged pant-shitter himself shared with High Times magazine in 1977 and he later retracted. Crazy stuff in the history of these musicians here. So this Jett concluded is the tough guy who's running around America stirring things up against each other. But then he responded, calling her stupid, denying that he dodged the draft. Speaking during a YouTube live stream, he said, all I expressed in an interview was how I love Joan and her killer rocking band. She's got the great rocking band, great songs, the best garage band maybe ever, except for maybe Green Day. Love Joan, and I said how I love her. But I used her as an example along with Joni Mitchell. Love Joni Mitchell. Joan Jett, love them, blah, 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 but she can't be in the top 100 list. I had heard that he had some other things to say, not so polite as this. This is one of his more polite responses, but still, why call him out by name? And Joan Jett, Joni Mitchell do happen to be two of the females on the list. I'm not saying, I'm not one of those people, hey, you can't talk bad about women or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's lots of examples he could have used, so he's just making himself kind of a target by bringing them up. He should have, if he's going to bring up some, name few people on that list. There are, I'm sure, several men on that list too that don't belong on the list. I'm just saying for his own sake of trying to, avoid getting destroyed here in 2022, it might have been a good idea to do that or not mention names at all, in my opinion. Joan Jett, I love you. You continue. Don't get all upset. She calls me a racist and says I'm jealous. I didn't even mention that I should be on the list. Let's pretend I don't play guitar. Let's pretend I'm just a keyboard player, maybe a great gay conga player. This dude is just crazy, dude. This dude is old school, doesn't care. Wow. I don't know if he's just trying to get some attention right now. I never noticed my name as being included from the top 100 guitar list, though someone might. But Joan, would you just relax? But it's obvious that everyone would think that's the first thing, that he's jealous, he's upset that he's not on the list. Even though he didn't say it, that would be something that people would think automatically. Maybe the plastic has gone to her brain, he said, referring to the rumor that she had a plastic surgery. I don't know. I just think that she was stupid. I never said anything about how stupid she was. I didn't think she was stupid. Now we know how stupid she is. I didn't think she said anything stupid with her response. I thought it was a pretty good response. Just being honest. But he said Joan Jett and Joni Mitchell cannot be in the top 100 list before Derek St. Holmes, as he mentioned, and some other great guitar players here. It's not an opinion. There's no room for an opinion here. I'm mentioning guitar players that are world-class, monster virtuosos of the undeniable musical authority and guitar prowess. Yeah, I mean, of course. Everyone knows that. Paul Reed Smith, everyone knows that. But then he goes on to say, but don't you see what goes on? I guess they seek and accomplish the eternal terminal menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle that the governor of Washington, Oregon thinks they should have tampons in the boys' bathrooms. That's where we are. That's where we are. That's not where we are, but that's where they are steering our great country, our once great country. I just think Ted Nugent's going a little bit overboard. But, he has a right to his opinion, and the way he expresses it, I don't think he's getting his point across, because he's being a little too harsh, bringing up names like that. And some of the words that he's using, I think he can come about it a little bit better. Maybe more people would be on his side. But the way he came at it, I'm not saying that Joan Jett is right in her politics and her personal opinions and all that. I'm not really sure. I just listen to the music. But as far as the way he came at this, was a little harsh, and probably not the best idea. And here's the list right here. David Fricke's picks, and even says Jimi Hendrix was number 1 in every way. The other 99 were number 2. We already know Jimi Hendrix is going to be number 1. Is Jimi Hendrix the greatest guitar player to ever live as far as his talent and his skills on the guitar? Probably not. Right? I'm sure no. He was awesome, amazing, influential, and all that. I have no problem with him being number 1. When you take everything into account. But if you're just saying the best guitar player at playing the guitar, I mean, that's a list that nobody would probably want to see, because probably would never heard of half of them, or all of them maybe. They could be, you have to, Tommy Emmanuel would have to be on this list. You'd have to find just guys who just do just incredible things with the guitar. And maybe he is on the list, I'm not sure, but this is more of a popularity and, as far as rock and roll influence and all of that. And that's how Jimi Hendrix gets number 1, and that's how Joan Jett gets on the list. And you just accept that and move on. There's no, Angus Young is on the list with AC/DC. Obviously, some very good, strong guitar players here. We can see here, there's Joan Jett at 87. It said lead guitarist gave rock its icons, rhythm players gave it soul. The line runs from Eddie Cochran to Pete Townsend to Johnny Ramone, a lineage in which Joan Jett should not be taken lightly. In the early Runaways and later with the Blackhearts, she played it straight ahead, no frills, all heart. No effing around. Okay, so this is his list. It's his list. So what? There's no reason. He could have called out any and many of these guys here. that probably are not, some of the top 100 guitar players of all time as far as just their talent on the guitar. And he chose to call out Joan Jett. And then Joni Mitchell later. Here's Neil Young. I mean, I don't know if Neil Young is one of the top 100 guitar players talent-wise of all time, but he's Neil freaking Young. He gets on the list. It's just the way it is. That's just the way it freaking is. Adam Jones there. There's Joni Mitchell. Eddie Van Halen deserves to be on the list, I'm sure. But he's all the way down at number 70. That's freaking Eddie Van Halen. But this is his list. And you just have to accept it. I'm going to have a completely different list than he is. I may put Richie Sambora on the list because I'm a huge Bon Jovi fan. I love Richie. Is he one of the top 100 guitar players technically of all time? Probably not. I mean, he's awesome. He's amazing. Now, don't get me wrong. Top 100 of all time? Probably not. But he gets on the list because he's Richie freaking Sambora. Let's just be honest. Joe Perry makes the list. I saw, who did I see just there? I saw Frank Zappa. I saw Les Paul. Les Paul, I mean, he got to be on the list, right? It's freaking Les Paul. Let's see here what else we have here. Buddy Guy. Steven Stills. He's awesome. Is my man here from the Eagles going to be on this list? I haven't seen him yet. The Edge. From the Eagles, we have Don Felder. Where's Don Felder? He's awesome. He's amazing. Probably not on the list, but hey, Carlos Santana, Jeff Beck, Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain is way higher on the list than Eddie Van Halen. And I think we all know who the better guitar player is. So you just take it with a grain of salt. Keith Richards is number 10, ladies. Keith Richards. Keith Richards. We all love Keith Richards, man. And the fact that he will be around forever is awesome. And Keith Richards is a legend. He is not the 10th best guitar player in the history of the planet. No chance. Jimmy Page, Stevie Ray Vaughan. There's Chuck Berry. And Chuck Berry is there for his influence. For inventing rock and roll. Not for his technical skills on the guitar, because he would not be number 6. Robert Johnson, wow, that's a legend right there. Absolute legend. So I can't complain. B.B. King, Duane Allman, and of course Jimi Hendrix. But, a lot of guys are not on this list who should have been. And I just don't think, him just calling out Joan Jett. I mean, actually, this list is... that's an interesting list. It's just a fun read. That's it. You just can't take it too seriously because it's not literal at all. It's what it is. So, but hey, I see a lot of great names here, and that's really what it is. Just a reminder of some great names, some great guitar players that, you might have not thought about in a while. So that's what this list is, like Warren Haynes from the Allman Brothers. So, guys, have a great day. Let me know what you think, though. Who's right here. That dude may be right in his assessment, but I think the way he went about it is just messed up. There's just no reason to do that. I think he's overly harsh and overly critical. But, hey, I mean, he's allowed to have his opinion. I'm not saying he's not allowed. I'm just saying I don't think he went about it the best way. But you guys let me know what you think and put it down in the comment section. You guys have a great day. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.